Also addressed at today's news conference the reopening of schools across Montana. Lieutenant Governor Mike Cooney announced the governor's guidance plan to send students back to class. What that will look like depends a lot upon the individual district and where the state is in its reopening plan at that time. Now, Cooney talked about accommodations for at-risk students and remote learning and says opening the schools is a priority.
Governor Bullock and I know our schools are the foundation in which future leaders of Montana are made, and we know that in-person teaching serves a critical role in the lives of students and their families. For many children, school is the best place to be. In a time of endless unknowns and constant flux, schools can provide structure and familiarity.
Now, Cooney says school districts will be expected to consult with local health officials and take every single safety measure recommended by the Centers for Disease Control. Well, what school will actually look like this fall is on the minds of many parents and students after students ended last school year stuck learning from home. Q2's Russ Riesinger talked with the superintendent of Montana's largest school district today to get his reaction to the governor's plan and joins us now from the newsroom. Russ.
Well, Billings School Superintendent Greg Upham says the risk versus reward will have to be taken into consideration, but he says that direct instruction is very important. They want to get back to that. He says some students did well with the online learning, but a lot of others did not.
We forget as a society that we're more than an education, that we do provide safety, food, belongings for students.
And those are just some of the reasons why Billings School Superintendent Greg Upham wants the district's 17,000 students back in the classroom at the end of the summer. But with coronavirus cases rising in the state, there's also reason for concern.
Coming back to school is going to have some risk, and we have to accept that risk. We as school officials have to mitigate the risk and enforce the safety to the best of our ability.
Some of the recommendations in the governor's reopening plan include procedures for cleaning, mask guidelines, monitoring students for possible illness, and methods to limit the number of individuals in classrooms and learning spaces. Upham admits that with so many students, it will be a challenge to socially distance.
We can do some things to help. But at the end of the day, we're going to be in direct instruction, and there will be students that are in proximity of each other. There'll be proximity to the teachers. We'll limit the people coming in and out of schools, especially at the beginning. We will try to create communities within schools that that interact with each other and not others to the best of our ability.
School districts are advised to reopen under a health and safety plan developed with local public health officials.
There's plenty of time to slow this down and be ready for school. We just need to change our behavior to get that prevention activity happening as a natural course of activity.
I'm hoping that the virus will settle itself because as it increases, it creates more issues for us in education, and we just know how important it is to get back to school.
And if you want to look at the governor's reopening plan for schools in Montana, you can find it in its entirety on KTVQ.com. School is set to get underway August 24th here in Billings. Janelle?
All right. Thanks so much, Russ. Well, as the governor's office released its set of guidelines for Montana public schools, so did the state superintendent of public instruction. And she's not exactly happy about the double set of plans. Early Thursday afternoon, State Superintendent of Public Instruction Elsie Arntzen, a Republican, released a 40-page set of guidelines on how schools may reopen this fall. Within the hour, however, Democratic Lieutenant Governor Mike Cooney unveiled that separate set of reopening recommendations. Arntzen told MTN News she spoke with Cooney 3 weeks ago and told him that officials should have a unified plan. She says the governor's office going ahead on its own is a poor way of doing government. However, she says she'll include the governor's recommendations with information that she sends out to school districts this summer. Governor Bullock says since he had given the directive to close schools in March, he thought it was important for his office to issue guidelines on reopening. Well, both documents are a list of recommendations that school districts can choose to follow as they decide how and whether to reopen in the fall.